Hello and welcome to United We Podcast, brought to you by the United Corpus Christi Chamber of Commerce. I'm your host, Al Ariola Jr., President and CEO. United We believe in the power of collaboration, the strength of advocacy, and the endless possibilities of growth. From advocating for local businesses to fostering growth opportunities, we're here to ignite conversations that matter. This is United We Podcast. Welcome back, United Chamber family and friends. Today we are joined by Dr. Roland Hernandez from C.C.I.S.D. Dr. Hernandez, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, just to get to know you a little bit better before we get to talking about CCISD, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? The story of Dr. Hernandez, if you will.
Yeah, so surprisingly to many, I'm from this area. Grew up in South Texas. Graduated from Woodsboro High School. So all of my family on my dad's side is from the Woodsboro area, and my mother is from Refugio.
So before, I'm curious, you mentioned your folks and the pathway you chose. Did they have any influence on the career path you took?
Not necessarily going into education, but just always being very encouraging of getting further education after high school. My sister and I both had great athletic careers in school, and we just wanted that to continue. Moved it on to the college level, and then just wanted to stay involved with sports and kids, and we both became educators.
So you look like you played sports. What sports did you play?
So in high school, played everything: football, basketball, track, tennis. In a small district, you can do that.
Okay.
And then went on to college and walked on to the basketball team. Growing up in a small district, I was out of position. I was a center in a small town, but in a big district, I would have been a guard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I kind of lacked the ball handling skills, but enjoyed it for a couple of months and then just decided I'm going to hang up my basketball jersey. Played a lot of college volleyball for a while, men's volleyball, and enjoyed that. But got into coaching and teaching and did that for several years before I got into administration. I left my hometown area and was gone for 20 years, so not until 2010 did I come back to the Corpus area and came to work for CCISD.
What college did you go to?
Did my undergrad at Southwest Texas, now Texas State.
Okay.
Did my master's at University of Houston, Clear Lake, and then did my PhD at UT Austin.
So was home always a hope that you would be able to come back?
It was. For a long time I thought I would never make it back this way. We'd only come down to visit parents on holidays, and I was always north. My kids never really knew what it was like to have grandparents around for the first several years of their lives. It wasn't until my daughter was in 10th grade in high school and my son was a 7th grader that they really got a good taste of what it was like to have grandma and grandpa nearby.
That's nice.
To where they could come and be a part of everything. So they were really involved in sports. My kids were at Caffey and King, and they both ended up graduating through King High School. So my parents could drive in, enjoy whatever they were doing, and drive right back. That was very nice. I had not had that for the whole time that I was away.
So you mentioned graduating college and your doctorate studies, and I'm sure all that was integrated into the education space, some of your studies?
Yes.
And the intention for you was always, hopefully, to be in administration, I'm assuming?
I think so. I thought I would have coached a little bit longer. Then you get married and your wife realizes there's not a lot of money in teaching and coaching, so I moved into administration. But I've always enjoyed sports. I love kids, enjoyed teaching middle school for several years, and then moved up into the high school and coached basketball, tennis, track, a lot of things. But administration was ultimately where I wanted to be. After campus administration, got into the district level administration and have been now in administration for 25 years and been a superintendent for 14 years.
Well, I'm glad you brought up that the years that you've been dedicated to education. I'm sure you obviously would admit that there's been a lot of changes or evolution or challenges, if you will, in the space of education. What is it that you've maybe missed the most from way back when? Well,
educators do what they do, not for the money, obviously, but just for the passion of learning and passion for kids. So I think because that's why we do it, we're always going to enjoy our profession and our job. There's always going to be children who need to be educated, and that's why we're here. And when our time is up, we're going to have many young educators coming in to take our positions as teachers and as administrators. I think what's made it most difficult, of course, is just the requirements that the state continues to put down on school districts, which is understandable. We're all about accountability, but sometimes a lot of what we're being required to do isn't something that can just happen overnight. It takes funding, and funding is a big issue right now across our state.
I was going to say unfunded mandates
Yes.
to some extent. What do you believe right now with the current climate in education is your biggest challenge?
Well, I think right now it's just the rhetoric that's being thrown out there. Really, a lot of politics involved, where we're trying to pit one school system over another. And right now, what you'll see is a movement for vouchers in the school system. And so you stop and look at what we've had over all these years. I'm now finishing up my 31st year in education. My wife is also an educator now in her 33rd year, and both of my kids are going to be, or actually are educators, young educators, but again, doing great work. And they're getting a taste of what it's going to be like for years to come. And now we're getting a new taste of what we went into wasn't like this, but now we're seeing what it's like. The one thing that's for sure is that everybody's competing for the same kids. Public education is outstanding, in my opinion. I went all through public schools, and majority of people did. They do a great job. Are there challenges? Yes, of course, there are. It's going to be a little different than private schools. Private school parents choose a reason to put their kids there, like other parents, and so they're going to have a lot of like-mindedness of what they're looking for, and can pretty much pick and choose what it is they want their children to grow up and be around. Charter schools are a new thing as well. There really are public schools. They're just much smaller, but they're under still the TEA guidelines and governed by the state. A little bit more flexibility there, but for the public schools, there's so much more that we offer that people don't realize until they really study, extracurricular-wise, sports-wise, the performing arts. That's big for all families, and I certainly support that for our students. But if you want like a very diverse, real-world picture for what children really need, and whether they go through it or not at a young age, it's what the real world is going to be when they get into college and afterwards, then what we do is very, very important in public education.
Well, look, I'm obviously a fan of public education. I am a product of it as well. And my father actually was on the school board of where I'm from, and he was one of the longer standing school board members for a while. I wouldn't necessarily say he was the most educated person. He only had a high school degree, but had a business acumen that, if you will, I saw him use that to help the school district. I wanted to touch on that, especially relative to your position, the layers involved in a school district. There is the components of leadership, democracy, transparency, from the administrative level all the way to the people who represent the school district on the board of trustees. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I guess you want to brag about your current board and all the great work that team has been doing?
We've been very fortunate. I'm on my 14th year now in C.C.I.S.D. and have done some really great things as a district as a whole. I mean, obviously winning the state award for the AGB Excellence in Education, but now our current school board is nominated for the top school board of the year.
Hey.
That says a lot to the work that they've done. But I will say that it has been a total team effort. We are where we are because of the hard work of our teachers. I appreciate the support of our parents, and then the good work that our students do. Nobody can do it alone. And whether it's the superintendent or the school board or principals or teachers, it comes together as one school district, which is why we're seeing the results that we're seeing and getting the accolades.
I want you to brag a little bit more about that HEB award. Can you give the audience a little more context of what that was involved and what that signifies?
Well, so the HEB Excellence in Education is a program that rewards teachers, principals, administrators, and then school districts as a whole. Last year we applied and were selected as a finalist. And so you go through numerous interviews. They send a team of judges down to visit your school district. We put a community committee together. It involved educators, business leaders, community leaders, and then they sit with these judges who come in to visit to get a good idea of the support systems, the partnerships, how those partnerships are key and important to the school system, and then in helping us accomplish what we accomplish. And then we wait to see out of 6 top districts, they pick 6 finalists, they name 1 winner. And we won that last year.
Congratulations. Very, very, very well deserved. Well, getting into those particulars about awards, I know you won an award also in 2020. You were the superintendent of the year for the region.
I was.
Congratulations.
Again, total team effort. I couldn't have done it without all the support systems.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting back more into the, I've been in the chamber world for about 14 years, and I've always had an appreciation, or I guess a sense and understanding that, I shared this with you, that school districts, school programs are the cornerstone of economic development. They really are where the rubber hits the road as far as workforce and the future of what a community can look like. I wanted to give you an opportunity to also brag about, as far as, again, my observations, the school district is definitely plugged into our business community and the opportunities that maybe these kids, if not out of college, maybe out of high school, can feed into the workforce and the STEM studies that you guys are doing. Do you want to share any particulars on that?
Well, ultimately what we would really like to see is where kids can go straight from school into the workforce. And that's by choice. The students who are already working while they're in school and trying to graduate have full-time jobs. Some have more than one job. Anything we can do to help our students get that experience while they're in school is only going to help them be better prepared when they graduate. Now, for the students who are going to go off to the 4-year universities or even 2-year colleges, even the military, they'll go do what they're going to do and then come back. Hopefully they come back to Corpus Christi, their home. But that is what is connecting the bridge right there so that we don't lose these students. And the fact that if we can build on internships, residencies for our students to get to know and network with our leaders of these companies and refineries and whatever it is, then they're going to be more successful in finding jobs. And so I do think that what you're talking about is a community effort. We do so much with so many great partners, and we just know the importance that they bring to our organization, that we couldn't do it without them. And we all want the same end result. We want productive students to come out and take these jobs and to be prepared. And if they can do that in advance, it's better for everyone.
Well, and that, again, back to my observations, is government can get caught up in its processes and its structures and to your point of state accountability issues, but the overall customer service of CCISD is impressive. I mean, it rivals what you see in businesses. You guys are responsive. Collaboration just doesn't happen in a vacuum. It actually takes people connecting, and your staff, yourself, the board. You guys have been really incredible partners that I've observed to the businesses in this community. Is there any program in particular lately, a new program, something that you're getting off the ground that you're really excited about to put into the community?
Well, there are a couple things we've done. Our goal every year is to continue to study and assess what is it that our school district needs. Because while we do a good job in many areas, I always feel we can improve.
Sure.
And that's the only way you're going to get better. So we really value what our business partners think, what our community thinks. What would they like to see more of program-wise, and what is the need in this coastal Bend area? So we have great partnerships with the workforce. They give us a lot of great information. We partner well with our community college and university here. And again, all trying to accomplish the same thing. But particularly, the great work that we do with the chamber, specifically, most recently, we started up a maritime program at Carroll High School. But it's for all of our students. It's not just for anyone associated with Carroll. And what a great opportunity when you have the port that we have here. So these students are learning from their freshman year up through high school what it takes to work at a port. They're going through simulations on, maneuvering tugboats and things like that, or navigating for these big ships coming in. Who gets that kind of opportunity? It was not like that when I was in school. And that's what we say what can we do more of for our community and our students?
Well, I'm glad you brought up when you lived here way back when you were going through your studies with high school. What have you seen change the most in the coastal Bend that you're noticing the most?
Well, what I really like to see is that it's not just the large districts that are getting those opportunities, because even my hometown in Woodsboro, small district, partnering with B County, the former B County when I grew up, but now I think it's Coastal, is it Coastal Bend College over in Beeville?
Okay.
I could be wrong on that, but I think that sounds right. Same thing there now. The smaller towns are able to partner either with bigger districts or colleges and start offering those college courses, dual credit. And you're helping families save probably 2 years worth of college tuition by getting them the chance to do it while they're in school.
Right.
And that was just not around when we were going through school.
And I think we're speaking about the kind of the impact that HB8, was it, that the community college now with dual credits and
well, that one is more recent, but even before that, they were still getting the chance to take dual credit and advanced placement courses.
Do you want to elaborate though? That I think you can maybe anticipate in the market now with that law change and how maybe more students can try to take advantage of that.
Well, it comes down to opportunity. Sometimes, a lot of these students have had to pay their own tuition. Our partnership recently with Del Mar's to where they're allowing all students to take advanced dual credit courses where free of charge. And that's just like a big wow
big
for
time.
anybody. And so the fact that we get to partner with them, and schools in general are getting to work closely with their community colleges and universities. Again, we're all wanting the same thing. Better opportunity for our students, and it's going to be huge for just the host state.
Well, and I'll speak to my experiences too. So I graduated from college here in 2003, and my folks were kind of like your folks. Say, do your best, try to get a scholarship, and you need to continue your education. But when I graduated in 2003, it just felt like the market at that time, recession was starting, we were post 9/11 and all the challenges that were going on. It seemed as if the market wasn't ready for me. Even as much as I wanted to work and get a job and what was next, it was a scary time. And I think right now the world is a little bit noisy and scary, but the opportunities here are abundant, I would say, wouldn't you?
I would say so. I think there's a lot of good leadership in the city, a lot of new people coming in to Corpus Christi, and I appreciate that. While we certainly value all of the natives who've been here our whole lives, it's nice to bring in new ideas and thoughts. We feel the same way in our school system. We have a lot of people in our school district who've been here many years, and many are new, but they also bring great ideas from the organizations and school systems that they come from. And what better way to learn than to hear other ideas that people bring.
Well, and I know funding is allocated and limited, and sometimes comes with certain red tape that where I've felt the chamber could always be helpful is with those supplemental vocational programs for clubs and those students that maybe want to travel for competitions. And is there a specific team or vocational trade that you want to highlight that's doing pretty well right now?
I would really support our robotics teams. They're amazing.
They are. They're so much fun to watch, too.
They are amazing. And, we're starting kids with coding in elementary now.
That's what blows my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They're doing robotics in elementary, middle school, and high school. We have underwater robotics, and we just started an aviation program. We appreciate our military and our ROTC programs. We're going to be starting a new Coast Guard ROTC program at Veterans Memorial High School. And again, it's those areas where you find some gaps that you're like, what can we do to fill those gaps and keep bringing the new program?
Well, and again, back to my perspective about why I believe you guys are the cornerstone. Can you highlight the aviation program a little bit more?
Well, the aviation program has been in other districts before.
Yeah.
But there are many students who already know what they want to do when they graduate, either going into the military and becoming pilots of some sort, and now they're just going to be exposed to it much sooner. Similar to the maritime program where they're starting these courses in the 9th grade, is our hope there that these students are going to start that coursework in the 9th grade, and eventually by junior and senior years we'll be doing the simulations of aviation.
Again, back to even when I was in school, a lot of it was maybe in the more of the liberal arts or just specific sciences, and not so much the STEM and putting it all together, if you will. And so, I'm blown away. I have a lot of fun hanging out with the kiddos when they're doing the coding, and you're like, how did you do that? I know. It's pretty incredible. Before we let you go, I don't want to put you on the spot, but A student, B student, C student?
So I tell my kids this all the time. When I went through school, I was a very high achieving, probably an overachiever.
Okay.
Not I would say a very book smart person.
Gotcha.
People tell me to give myself more credit, but I worked hard. On top of being very involved with student council and leadership and sports year round, I worked really hard on my studies. And I have 2 kids, and like I said, they're both educators. I reminded them of that. You have to work hard. It's not just going to come easy to you. But I carried that from school into college at all levels. And I think when you come from a small family or a small town, you just feel you have that much more to prove.
That's
fair. It wasn't good enough to just get my bachelor's degree. I wanted to keep pushing and ultimately got the PhD, and not just a PhD, but from UT Austin, which, I bleed orange. So
hey, go Horns. Well, I'm glad you brought that up too, because I'm from a small town, Del Rio, Texas, and the work ethic in South Texas is something to admire across the board. But it's almost like the smaller you come from a town, it's the harder you're almost willing to work. Wouldn't you say? Well, Dr. Hernandez, is there a shout out to anybody you want to shout out in particular today? Thank you for joining us. But is there some folks in the audience that you want to give some love to?
I would just like to give a shout out to all of our CCISD family. We recognize how hard they're working. We understand that regardless of profession that people choose, they first come in touch with a teacher and administrator. And we're a large district with 33,000 kids, and, we have over 5,000 employees. But I always, if there's advice I could give to people, is remember where you came from. And both of us coming from small towns, those people who molded us to where we are today are still in that town.
Right.
So I appreciate all of the support systems I had growing up in Woodsboro. And when I see a lot of kids in the coastal Bend area, I see myself a lot of times, and just think about here's where they are today, but where they'll be several years down the road, and just keep pushing for that success. It'll come. Just got to work for it.
Yes, sir. Well, I want to thank you for your time, Dr. Hernandez. I want to especially thank you for the impact you make in our community. I want to thank our audience for joining us. We will see you again next time.